Cool. All right. Starting the stream on YouTube here. Today I'm going to be talking to Marcus Pentzek. Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, this is how I
Yeah.
say my name,
Okay.
Pentzek.
Okay. So he created a really cool an SEO organic rank correlation study is what it is. And it goes into a lot of detail about a bunch of different ranking factors for Baidu. Maybe Marcus could just introduce it a little bit, and then we're going to go through it, and I'm going to ask him a bunch of questions. We're going to have some conversation about it because I'm interested in it personally because it's just cool. It's just cool to watch. So we're going to get into some detail here. Marcus, could you tell us what the report is, really?
Yeah. I've been doing Baidu SEO for the last 8 years or so, and I was always looking through those blogs talking about ranking factors and looking up any information I could get. And they were so much different from what I actually experienced by myself doing hands-on SEO on Baidu. So I was really wondering if there was any study out there, and I simply couldn't find one. So I started doing this Baidu ranking factor study in the style we at Searchmetrics do it like the last 10 years for Google. I performed it over the summer to look at many different factors for ranking URLs for the keyword set. And yeah, I think we found some really interesting results here. Yeah, so what did we do? So we took a keyword set of like 50,000 Chinese keywords. We made sure that they were all Chinese, so there were no Latin characters in there, no numbers. So this is all Chinese characters, all simplified Chinese characters, of course. And looked at the ranking URLs, found out that Baidu was ranking a lot, so we didn't want to interfere with the ranking factors and maybe different factors Baidu was choosing their own properties for. So we took out all the Baidu ranking URLs and only looked at the other ones. And this is the report.
Okay, cool. So there's a lot of data in this report, and I figured that we could go through some key things that I found were interesting, or some things that you think were interesting. And we don't really, I have some notes here, but we don't really need to follow my notes or the way we go. If we want to go off on a tangent to talk about whatever, that's cool too. We don't really have a time limit here. So one of these things I wanted to clarify is that Baidu's own websites appear in here a lot. And then you said that normally for the data that you were covering, you weren't tracking Baidu's owned websites?
Exactly. So, of course, Baidu, just like Google, puts in image rankings or video rankings, stuff like that. But they also have their own properties, like their own wiki, which is Baidu Baike, and many different other things that usually in the West, mainly other websites would be covering and not the search engine itself.
And this one here, this chart, it means that 40% of the results that are for the number one position are Baidu's own websites. Is that what it means?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a lot. It's pretty tough to get up in that first spot, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a 60% chance. This is not...
Yeah, right.
Not too bad.
Okay.
Maybe one more thing about this. I was actually thinking before I did the study that I would probably see Baidu Baike a lot of times in the first positions, but in the end was Baidu Zhidao that was taking most of the spots. That was kind of surprising to me and showing that I actually can get a ranking there with answering questions on Zhidao.
Right. It's okay. So a couple ideas about that. One, I guess it depends on the type of keywords that you have on Baidu.
Yes.
So like Baike, like I would expect Baike to be up there a lot, but Zhidao too. I think perhaps it depends if Baidu thinks you're asking a question or not. were the keywords that you're using, were many of them brand names, or were any of the brand names?
Oh, there were probably a lot of brand names in there. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And then
I didn't filter them out.
How long were the keywords?
We took keywords ranging from 2 characters. There was the minimum up to 8 characters.
Okay. 2 to 8.
Yeah.
So I'm just searching here for Shanghai skiing, just because I wanted to show this a bit in case somebody watches this and they don't know what we're talking about. But Baidu Baike will often show up near the top here, and then this is an ad up there, and then we're going to have other results from news. This is it's just individual website, and then we have maps, and there's all sorts of different results in there. When you considered Baidu's own properties, it was things that were fully owned by Baidu, right? It didn't include Zhihu, did it?
No, it was all properties on Baidu.com. So Baidu.com subdomains.
Right. Okay. Because Baidu also has other platforms that they either partially own or own. Maybe just partially own. But like, for example, they have some ownership in Zhihu, and Zhihu shows up in Baidu often.
Yeah.
And then you said that you will often find Baidu, you'll be able to make a post on Baidu Zhidao, and then you'll see it ranking highly.
Well, that was just an idea. I didn't really test it.
Yes. Okay. So that is something that we do often when we're doing SEO, even though it's not really SEO for a website. It's just a way of getting up in Baidu's search results.
It's like, kind of parasite SEO, right?
It's what?
A kind of parasite SEO. You're ranking with different domains, with domains other people are owning.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'd look for, say, questions people are asking on Zhihu, and then try to post a really good answer on there, and then it might show up in Baidu search results, which would be a lot easier than ranking a new website.
This is actually a very good idea, a good strategy for when you're starting, actually, when you're not having that much authority yet. This is probably one of the best ideas.
Right. Okay, let's grab this report again.
Yeah, please keep the search result as well, because we will be using it for a different chart as well, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so you looked at the top level domains, and top level domains are like the .cn, .com, .com, .cn, etc. And then you found that basically it doesn't matter which top level domain is being used, right?
Well, you cannot really say that. I mean, we saw top level domains dominating the market. And here again, we took out Baidu.com, since they're only like 40%, at least for the top 1 position. Right. So I think we can go down as plus 30% Baidu.com here on this chart if we would implement it. Yeah.
And this chart here, this is showing that most of the results in Baidu top 10 are .com domains.
Exactly.
And then the next most popular is just other.
Yes.
Right.
That's that's a combination of many different TLDs. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other ones we have here: .com, .net, .cn, and a bunch of different people out there. I've seen this advice lots of times. They will say that you need a .cn or a .com, .cn domain.
Or you won't ever get a chance to rank on Baidu.
Right.
And
but that's not the case.
No, this is not the case. I mean, this chart clearly shows that this is not the case. I would agree if you would say getting a .cn or .com CN is a clear signal to Baidu that you are trying to target the Chinese market, but it's not a really hard ranking factor.
Okay. Well, when I advise clients on what they should do in China, usually what I'm trying to do is not make them reinvent everything for China. So if there's something that we don't have to do new for China, let's not do it. So usually what I would tell them is, if they're going to make a new website that is tailored towards Chinese people, then you might as well go with a .cn, right? But if they're just going to add a couple pages, or if they're just going to add a section of Chinese onto their main website, they can keep it on the .com or whatever they have. They can put it in. They could put it in a subdomain if they want to, but although that would be viewed as a separate website.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, showing Baidu that you really care about your Chinese content, it makes a lot of sense. And you could do this having an own .cn or .com CN, but you could also have just like the subdomain CN dot and your domain.com, showing towards Baidu that you are separating the Chinese content from the rest of the world content. And this does make a lot of sense, while I still do see websites ranking if they're just using a folder for Chinese.
Okay. So let me skip ahead a bit. I won't show the chart for this, but later on in the report, you talked about language tags, right? And I think what you were saying there is that most websites in China are not using those language tags, and they don't need to. Is that right?
Yeah, it is absolutely right. I mean, Google has said that they don't use the language tag, but I would always see the recommendation for China. You really need it. And looking at the source codes of the ranking URLs, it simply shows there's not much correlation to it. Even many Chinese websites that are having the language tag in there would still say, hey, language is EN, and which is simply not true. But it's so easy for Baidu to simply see that this website is written in Chinese content that they really don't need the language tag.
Right. Okay. And just to be clear for other people, language tags are used within the code to tell search engines what language the content is. But they might not be necessary at all because search engines are smart enough to look at the page and figure out what language is on there anyways. So perhaps it's not necessary, which is interesting to me because I have advised to use language tags.
I would still advise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've heard about Bing paying a lot of attention to language tags. And while at least one search engine being around in the world uses them, I would still say it makes sense.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. And then also, well, I don't know what type of companies you deal with normally, Marcus, but sometimes companies we deal with, they don't always find it easy to make changes across their websites. They might have various technical hurdles that they run into. So I'll tell them what's important and what's not important to do. I think that I would, well, even before I would say that the language tags is not the most important thing to do. Like it's not as important as, for example, making sure that keywords are in the title, for example, right?
Yeah, good point.
Okay, let's talk about the keywords here. I'll show this chart and then I'll show some Baidu search results. But you looked a lot about where the keywords are, like where they are in the content, where they are in the titles, etc. And I think that overall, what you saw is that you don't see the exact match keywords within the different areas of the page as much as you might expect.
Yeah, I mean, these expectations to see the exact match keyword in the title, in the content, anywhere, is more from the, I would say, European language direction. We've got the example here with Shanghai skiing. You just clicked, okay.
Yeah,
if you
so
go
I
back
changed,
to the...
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this first one, this is just Shanghai skiing, which is yes. More general, and then
yes, and we see it, Shanghai skiing is made of 4 different Chinese characters, and if you look at the second result, then we see the keyword highlighted in red in the title. Yeah, this is the title. Yeah, and it's highlighted in red, so we see 4 different red characters, but they're not at the same location, so they're not exact match,
right?
But they're separated by other characters, and this is something that we see a lot in the Chinese language, that you don't really need the exact match keyword, meaning those 4 characters one by one, but Baidu being clever enough to understand what the meaning of the title is, and that it's still about Shanghai skiing in this case.
Right. Yeah. And then not just in the title too, but you also didn't see exact match keywords much within the content.
Hmm.
And you even
Yeah, I think
saw,
it
I
was.
think, was it that you saw that there was some negative correlation with exact match keywords in the body content?
Um, yes and no. I mean, the correlation data was not that exact, I would say, in this case. We would see top 1 rankings being lower than in the middle of the top 10 rankings, and then getting lower again in the end of the top 10. So this is not too clear, I would say, in this case. Using the exact match keyword in the content should probably quite similar as we do SEO in the West. Using them makes sense because people are searching for them, and if it makes sense to include them in the content for the user to read it, then it definitely makes sense to put it in there, but don't over optimize. I mean, you don't want to rank for this one keyword only. You want to rank for a whole lot more keywords with this one page, for a lot of more long tail keywords, and then the natural language simply makes more sense.
Okay, right. Natural language would be better because it can become very unnatural if you have the same exact match keywords showing up in the content over and over again.
Exactly.
And now you're doing this study based on a lot of data. Based on my personal experience running some small tests in the past, what I thought would happen with Baidu sometimes is if there was a keyword mentioned too many times, it might negatively affect the page. And I don't know exactly where it does, but I would suspect that once you start mentioning it too many times, it just drops, your rankings would just drop and your traffic would drop substantially. I don't know if you probably can't pick that up in the data or not, right? Like you can't pick
probably
up,
not
is
in
there
the
a
top
certain
10 data.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I would say that it's good to have a keyword, an exact match keyword in a title and close to the front of the title if you want to get traffic for that keyword, and then also in a header of a page. But when it comes to the rest of the content in the page, you don't need an exact match keyword, but you do need those individual characters or pairs of 2 characters in the content.
Exactly.
You think that lines up with what you see from this study too?
Yeah, that pretty much lines up with the data that I see from the study. I would still recommend putting the keyword in the beginning of the title, while the data shows you should have it within the first like 5 characters, starting with your keyword then, which is still pretty much in the beginning, I would say.
Okay. Now, one more thing I'll ask about, see if you have an opinion on this. Sometimes on Baidu, I'll see pages that have their titles formatted in a certain way where they have a bunch of keywords listed in the title. Like they might list 4 or 5 different exact match keywords, and it'll just be the same thing over and over again. So it might be, I'm not seeing it right here. In fact, I don't see it as much on Baidu now, but I used to see it more often. Where in this example, it might be like Shanghai skiing, Shanghai indoor skiing, and then I don't know, I can't think of examples right now, but there'd be like 4 keywords that are all exactly like very similar like that in the title, and it looks very awkward to read. But is that a bad thing to do now, or do you know if anything changed?
I don't know about anything that changed, but I would definitely agree that it's a bad thing to do. I mean, you want to attract users to click on your search result, and the more unnatural and stuffed and not attractive it looks, the less clicks it will get compared to others that are more naturally.
Yes, that's true too. Yeah, I don't see that as much in Baidu now. And, you know, I used to watch what's going on with the changes in the search engines very, very closely. And then as the years went on, I stopped doing that because I started to get more bang for my buck by not paying as much attention to the details and just focusing on making great and useful content. And then as the changes happen in the search engines, it shouldn't hurt me. You know?
Yeah, you should definitely stick to this mantra.
Yeah.
And it's always good building great website, great content, great user experience for the users, because in the end, this is what the search engines want. They want to deliver the very best results, because if they do deliver the very best results, people keep on using those search engines.
Yeah.
And this is where they get their money from. So they are trying to evolve and get better and better. And this means delivering better results. And so they're trying to find out what the users want. And the users don't want keyword stuff titles like this, for example.
Right. Yeah. All right. Let me go down to this content about images that you have here. So what you showed in here is that over 90% of the pages that are in the top 10 on Baidu will have an image in them. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, that's right.
And then they tend to have quite a few images too, right?
Yes, correct. And that was really not surprising me.
Okay. So I wonder if you got any sense from this study about what types of pages are ranking highly on Baidu. Like, are these pages that are like homepage portal type pages, or maybe are they blog posts or guides or articles?
This is just from my personal experience, not from the study, because I didn't really look by myself at all the search results. I did this through different scripts. But from my personal experience is the more shorthand the keyword is, the more broad it is actually, the more you would see like front pages ranking and portals, and the more it goes into the long tail. And getting more concrete, the more detailed pages you would see. Depending on the topic, it would be like product pages or forum pages or whatever.
Okay. And when I do Baidu SEO with my team too, we make sure to make some changes to images so that we end up getting images in the search results, kind of like this, because Baidu will pick up just some formats of image. I don't remember the exact size, but it will pick up some of them. Was anything in the study related to that too? Like, were you looking at images that showed up in search results like this, or did you know how many? Like, what % of search results have images?
Oh, I would really have to lie if I could say how many, but I think it was like 50% of organic results would get a search image. But we didn't look at what kind of images were there. I tried to figure this out by myself, but what I found is that they need to be big enough. They don't need to be in this format that they're using, because Baidu would cut them.
Okay.
Do you have a different experience?
You mean Baidu would take an image from the page and crop it so that it can show a proper thumbnail here?
Yes.
Ah, okay. No, well, what we've done is made sure that images are a certain size, and then sometimes we'll check to make sure that they're showing up here. But I need to check to remember what that size is.
It would be good to know. So if you can add it later on in the comments, that would be nice.
Yeah, sure. So on Google in recent years, I've had some success creating very long form content, and in the form of I guess it's called a guide, like a page that has a header and several different subheader types, and it gets rather long and detailed and explains something in a very authoritative way. And I find those search results when I'm searching for things on Google too, but I don't see them as often in Baidu nowadays. I wonder if we're going to see more of those coming out or not.
I actually bet that we will see such results getting coming more in the SERPs. I mean, even the data of this correlation study shows that there's at least a number of pages showing this kind of results. I mean, if you're looking at different single data points here, we see a lot of pages with unordered lists. Then we see a lot of pages with anchor text links.
Right.
And when you're looking at the number, we would see it's, I don't really remember it well, but I think it was like 8, but you can look it up in the report. You remember the page?
No, I might not find that right now, but what was it that's 8? The number of...
the number of unsorted links.
Okay. Unordered...
unsorted list points.
List points. Okay. So you would... pages that have a lot of little lists with them will tend to rank higher.
Yes.
Okay.
Pages with unordered lists would tend to rank higher. The sorted lists, like with 1, 2, 3, 4, we would have less, but still we would see a positive correlation. See, this is like 80% or more than 80%. Yeah.
Okay. So this could be indicating that Baidu is trying to show pages that are longer, more authoritative, have more, well, I shouldn't say more authoritative, but have more structured content within it. So, I mean, it's hard to determine, is this page a guide? Like I said, my words, for example.
Yeah, this is right. This is hard to see from this one data point, but if you search now for jump marks, for example, we would see the next point going into this direction. See,
okay.
This is more like 46% in average.
Yes. Okay. A lot of pages had jump links within them, which I thought this was unusual too, because how many pages actually have that on the internet? I mean, I don't notice them as a person using the pages. I don't notice them very often.
I mean, this is like these table of contents links. I mean, we would see like an average 6 of them. This gives me a hint that it probably goes into this direction.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, a lot of these different data points together, they show that Baidu is giving preference to pages that are big and have lots of stuff going on. Okay, they have a lot of text, they have images, they have these unordered lists, they have jump links, and a bunch of different things like that. And based on that, from my notes, I saw that the average number of characters for top ranked pages was a little over 3,000 characters. Is that right?
Yeah, it's about 3,200. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think that's a pretty long page, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you know a little about the Chinese language, as you do, you will know it's a lot of content in those characters, much more than would be in the same size of text in the English language.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of information packed within there.
Yes.
Okay. Because sometimes companies that we work with, they tend to want to make shorter posts online. They tend to want to make shorter, more frequent posts. And that's also something I hear a lot from various people that do Baidu SEO online, is they'll say that the freshness of the content matters a lot, and you should be posting a lot of content very frequently. So maybe you make a small blog post or article post on the website every day, and that will show up on the homepage, and then you could click from the homepage to get to the content. So from an investment point of view, I'm just trying to determine, is it better to post more fresh content, or is it better to post longer, more informative content, but not as frequently?
That probably depends on what you're trying to do with the content. If you just want to show freshness and have this little snippet in the front page, it probably makes sense to just more repeatedly publish the content. And if you don't care too much about the detailed page to rank, it's probably a good way to do. But if you intend the detailed page to rank well, then probably not pushing too often new content on the website, because I mean, how many really good long style content pieces can you make if you want to try to rank those detail pages?
Yeah, it is tough. But when it comes to deciding whether or not to create such a long and detailed piece of content, for Baidu SEO, I find that it's usually not the best idea to do it just for the purpose of Baidu SEO, but it's good to do it if you can be driving traffic there from other places too. So say like you have a lot of WeChat followers and you're going to share it with them, or you're going to share it through Weibo ads, or even even you have it as a report that's available for people that land on a landing page, etc.
Yeah, that really makes sense.
That's a more sure way of getting some return on the investment, because you'll get some return on it from wherever people are seeing it, even if it doesn't rank really well on Baidu.
Maybe I can give you just an idea and we can discuss it. If you really want to publish more frequently, shorter pieces of content, you would probably still pick a topic, right? How about making up a page on the topic and simply adding this little piece of content in the top? So this page gets more freshness, because every time you publish a new piece of content in the top, it's new and fresh, and you could still link to it from the homepage and giving a little intro to the new piece of content, and you would still have a really fresh homepage, and you would grow your topic page over the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good way of going about it. So you're looking at it the way of building a bigger page of over time with smaller pieces. Yeah. We do that the other way around sometimes, when we produce a longer piece of content and then we take out smaller pieces to use in different places, like answers on Zhihu or Baidu Tieba or wherever.
Social media.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to this next one here, because this one I think you're busting another myth. You showed that a lot of pages will use non-Chinese social media on their websites, and it seems like it is not hurting them. Is that right?
Yeah, that's definitely right. I mean, in the past, I would always recommend and say, hey, never place something to Facebook there, or a Facebook counter or Twitter button or whatever. Because I would say it is really bad user experience if people see this button and they say, hey, this is cool, I click on it, and they cannot reach the site because it's blocked in China. And I would have thought in the past that Baidu pays attention to this and to this bad behavior, this bad user experience that people would get when they click on this button. But it shows that this is not the case. I mean, this is still like 2.8% of all ranking URLs do have these links to Facebook, to Twitter, to YouTube in their pages. And this is a lot of pages. I mean, 2.8% doesn't sound a lot, but this is millions of pages. I mean, not in the study. This is only like 1,000 or so. Yeah. But looking over the Chinese internet, this is a lot. And if Baidu doesn't punish them and not rank them in the top 10, this is a lot of people getting this experience.
Right.
And yeah.
So it's probably fine to have a Facebook link on the page, as long as it doesn't break the page or slow it down when it doesn't load for people. Like, as long as like from a usability point of view, you wouldn't want it there if it leaves like a big white spot that or an error or something, right?
Yes, definitely. You don't want that, and you don't want the page to be slowed down because the script is loading or not loading or whatever.
Yeah, but maybe I'm not sure right now, but I thought a lot of those scripts now were loaded asynchronously anyways, so they wouldn't slow things down. Is that usually the case now? Do you know?
Yeah, for the biggest social medias, this is the case. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, most people probably use containers anyways to load them, and those are loading asynchronously already.
Okay. Another thing here, HTTPS. Yes. You're finding that about half the websites that are ranking in the top 10 use it, and about half of them just don't use it. And it's okay to, like, from a Baidu point of view, it's okay to still not use it.
I mean, they started like in 2017 crawling HTTPS URLs. They didn't crawl them before. And before, I would always say, hey, don't use HTTPS because Baidu crawlers don't get your URLs. But in 2017, they introduced this new functionality of their crawler that they would crawl HTTPS websites or URLs now. And they even introduced it as an official ranking factor. So this is like 3 years now, and I would say it's a pretty good coverage of website owners getting over to this new protocol. I mean, I remember clients in Germany, really big clients, they used like 5 to 10 years to get over from HTTP to HTTPS, and having this coverage of like 50% now is quite good. But getting back to your question, I think today it's probably still okay to not have HTTPS, right. But I would at least plan it in for the future. And whenever you get the chance on switching to HTTPS, you should probably make this step, because it makes the website secure, it makes the whole internet secure, and this is one of the things that those big search engines want. Right. I mean, even if they don't show it by themselves yet. I mean, if you looked at some of Baidu's URLs, you would still see them on HTTP and not redirecting to HTTPS.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's see. What's your... Okay. Title tags is another part I thought was interesting. I'm not sure where that part is, but I think in the report you said that the average number of characters in the title tags was 22, as opposed to using more of the title tag length, because Baidu will show up to 32 characters in title tags. Is that right?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, this is right. I mean, there's place enough for 32 Chinese characters, and you will see a lot of titles in this length, and you will see a lot of titles being way shorter. But in average, it turns out that there is this like magic number of 22 to 23. I mean, even if the dip goes down here on position 1, it's still 22. And if you're going up, it's still 22. So this is not a whole big of range here.
Right, because this chart is only showing from 21.7 to 22.8.
Yes, exactly.
So the average number of characters for the different ranks was about the same.
Yes.
But we can't tell from this if there's a certain if there are certain inflection points where the number of characters is just too many and your rankings start to drop at that point, right?
No, I don't see that there's too many of characters in the title. I don't see this in the data.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, who knows? I might see it if I would look at the top 20, but here we're looking at the top 10.
Yes, yeah. So later on, it'd be good to do another study with more data. Like you were saying before we were talking live here, you were saying that in this study, you're looking at the median values for these different things that you measured, and then you're comparing the correlation for the median values. But you could also do it in another way where you could gather more data for more rankings and calculate it in a different way that would be even, you'd be able to find more insights from it, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be something cool to do in the future.
Yeah, we're planning for something in 2021 and trying to look at different niches as well, as there might be differences between the travel niche and the food niche, for example.
Right. Okay. And for meta keywords, you found something that is not surprising to me, but you said that the keywords being in the meta description is not correlated with better rankings. Is that right?
Yeah, this is right. I mean, we saw kind of usage, at least in the title tag, like 20 to 30%, I think it was, the exact match keyword being used in the title, and we almost didn't see any of those exact match keywords coverage in the meta description tag.
Okay. So,
but it's talking exact match keywords again. So if you split them up, like in like we see it here, you might still see them.
Yes. So you'd find the individual words, but you wouldn't find the whole keyword within the meta description.
Yes.
Or at least you didn't find that was correlated with better results on Baidu.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about the canonical tag. Can you explain what you found related to the canonical tag?
I mean, maybe first an introduction to the canonical tag. This is like a link tag that you can put up in the HTML header. And you would probably use it if you have some technical problems that result in showing the same content on different URLs. You would relate in the canonical tag towards the original content, to the original URL which you really want to rank. And in Google, you can use the canonical tag within the domain and across domains. And Baidu is also supporting the canonical tag, at least that's what they state. But you can only use it or implement it within one domain. Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking to really see a correlation here, that people are using the canonical tag, which is not that much the case. We only saw like 30% of pages in the top 10 using the canonical tag at all. And if you would look at the distribution, you would see them being less used in the top positions and being more used in like 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, okay. So I wonder why that is, though.
I have no idea. I mean, putting up the canonical tag does make sense if you have those duplicates, and you might not really need it if you only have original content and no duplicate URLs. So this might be one of the reasons that they do have technical ways to only implement it if they have those duplicates.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's something I could imagine.
This is something that most sites probably will not need to pay any attention to.
Yeah, I mean, if you're scrolling down, we would even see that many of those canonical tags, so of these like 27%, I think it was, only 30% of them are self-referencing. So meaning that those URLs ranking there are even referencing to a different URL, stating that this different URL should be the one ranking. And Baidu seems to not pay attention to this. So from these numbers, I would say probably paying attention to a canonical doesn't make too much sense currently on Baidu, because they're simply not paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, a couple more things here. The mobile pages. You were looking at if they use these AMP or MIP. I don't use these things. I never have gotten into this. So maybe you could explain this and let me know what you found here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first, MIP was introduced by Google. So what they did was they introduced a certain markup language that was reduced to very simple points, making it possible to build really fast websites using really stripped down JavaScript that was only allowed by those libraries. So you could not simply code JavaScript and put it in there, but only use those JavaScripts that Google would allow for MIP pages. And you put them up as an alternative to your normal website. Mm-hmm. The idea was that Google would crawl those pages, store them on their own service, and whenever they think it makes sense to display this MIP page, they would serve it from their own service, because they could serve it faster than you could ever do from your service. Okay. So that was the basic idea. And Google would give special benefits to MIP pages, like them showing up in the news carousel a lot more often than other pages, because they would say people looking up news on the phone, they really want fast websites because they're on the train, they're out there with slow internet. stuff like that. And so they would want a faster user experience and would benefit from MIP pages. And only a year after Google introduced MIP, Baidu picked up the same approach, and they called it AMP, like accelerated mobile pages. They would use the same vocabulary for their markup languages, but they would they would definitely serve those pages from their own Baidu service, of course. They even said that you don't need to build an MIP page and an AMP page if you are internationally, because they would also pick up MIP. But in order to pick up AMP or MIP pages, you would have to reference those AMP pages from your regular website. And this is what this this chart here is about.
Okay.
We looked at how many or how often we would see this reference towards AMP pages. And this is nearly not existing. But there's a new twitch to this one. You might have heard that Baidu, in the beginning of this year, I think it was, they dropped their support for AMP. So they were trying it out for the last 2 or 3 years, and then they simply dropped it because I think that not enough webmasters were picking it up.
Okay. So I never got into using it. And, you know, my company, we don't do much website work. We'll make some simple kind of WordPress-based websites when we're working with a small client that needs something specific for China. And we've just taken the route of making responsive websites. And we never got into looking at making like separate mobile sites or MIP or AMP. And is the case that just most other people are doing that, so this kind of standard is not being used?
Well, there are still many websites out there in China using a separate mobile page and a desktop page. But Baidu also encourages them to turn over to responsive web design, but I think it takes time for everyone to pick it up.
Okay. It's better to just do responsive, in my opinion.
Yes, yes, definitely. I mean, whenever you build a new page, do never build a separate mobile and desktop version. This really doesn't make sense.
Okay, I think 2 more points here, and this should be good. One of them is that you found it's good to have the ICP license shown on the website, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's even a myth about Baidu SEO out there that you need the ICP license or you won't be able to rank in China with this, which is simply not true.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you can only get an ICP license if you have like an office in China and you're registered there, and only then you can apply for it, as far as I know, if you don't have any other experience.
Well, it's possible to have another company help you do that. Like a company within China could help you, or an individual within China. But it's something that you have to go through. It's an administrative process, and it might not be suitable for some companies. Yeah.
And, there was this myth out there that you could never rank without an ICP license. And, well, I busted this one like 3 years ago by simply looking at the results and seeing, well, they are not all having an ICP license. But here I have it backed up now with data. So don't get me wrong here. I did not look up if those websites do not have an ICP license registered. I just looked up if it was referenced in the footer.
Right. Okay. But what I was getting from this is that if you have an ICP license, you should show it in the footer because it might help you a bit.
Yeah. And shows a positive correlation here. I mean, like 90% of top 1 pages do have the license, and if you're going to its position 10, it's only like 60% or 50%.
Okay, this is maybe the last topic. I mean, if you have more, then that's cool too. But backlinks. So backlinks are important, right? What did you find here in your study related to backlinks?
Yes, backlinks are important. This was no surprise to me. backlinks are the backbone of all big search engines nowadays. I mean, I think it was Yandex trying a couple of years ago getting away from this backlink approach, but they turned back to backlinks after a while because they found that the results weren't that qualitative anymore without calculating them using backlinks.
Okay.
And this one we can see here as well. I mean, it's a lot of backlinks in average pointing to those top 10 ranking pages. But if you look at the chart going down from position 1 towards 10, it shows that the more backlinks, the higher you probably rank.
Right. Okay. The more backlinks, and also other things that we'd expect too. You want more referring domains.
Yes.
More linking IP addresses. It's just similar measures of the same thing, which is really what you want. Is you want more sites linking to you. And I think from this study, you didn't find if you didn't look into quality of backlinks, right? Or you didn't look into relevance, because that would be a lot harder to find that data. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't look into relevance. I did kind of look into power of backlinks. If you're scrolling down to SPS, which is the search metrics page strength, or something that we would rather look at in the past times as Google PageRank.
Okay.
We still have a calculation here from 0 to 10, so 10 being the highest value of the strongest links. And we did see that there is an average of like 4.9 to 5.2 in strength of the backlink profiles. I mean, we do not see a positive correlation here, so there is not position 1 rankings having a higher SPS, meaning a stronger backlink profile than the others. But we at least see there is an average score which is not low with 5 to 6.
Okay. So search metrics, this is part of the search metrics suite that you use to help clients with consulting with Baidu SEO or Google and other types of SEO, right?
Yes, exactly. So search metrics is basically the main business that the company I'm working for is doing. So this is a suite of software as a service, and we are looking at millions or billions of data points every week. So we're looking at the rankings of really millions of keywords in the whole world. In China, we're looking at Baidu, and in the rest of the world, we're looking at Google rankings and calculating a score from this, which we call SEO visibility, for every single domain we find in the SERPs. So you can compare yourself or competitors with each other to see how visible they are in the SERPs. And this is our main business. And one of these KPIs that we're using to calculate strength of backlink profiles for is the SPS, the search metrics page strength.
Okay. And that software that you guys offer, is it software as a service, or is it software along with the consulting services that you provide?
It's software as a service. You don't have to hire me as a consultant. You can still get access to the software. Okay.
Is targeted at bigger companies, bigger projects, or anybody?
Yeah, basically we're targeting bigger companies and enterprise companies, but we do have some offers for smaller companies as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think another cool thing to show, if you could find it out later, would be some of this similar data, but in the format of Baidu versus Google.
Yeah.
Sometimes that makes it easier to understand, especially for people that are used to doing Google and not so much Baidu.
Yeah, this is true. That was something I was thinking about as well when I finished the report. I was thinking, hey, how does it compare to Google now? The heck, I didn't look it up. So probably the next time I would probably have to do this for both worlds and have better comparison there.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Okay, so I think that we can pretty much wrap it up here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we covered the most important points, and There's still a lot more to explore. I mean, it's like 90 or 100 pages. I'm not sure. Do you have it open there?
It's 114 pages. Yeah. So
it's 114 pages. A lot of data in there, and it's free for you to download. Tait will probably just post a link in the comments of this YouTube.
Yep.
So everybody can get it.
Yep. I'll leave a couple links there. I'll leave a link to the page where people can get this full report, as well as our China Digital Marketing 101 page. It has a whole lot of information about marketing in China.
Cool.
And if somebody's watching this on YouTube, you want more stuff like this, just subscribe or like or send us a comment and let us know what type of content you want to see too.
Great.
Okay, so I'll see you later, Marcus.
Yeah, see you later. Thanks for having me.
YouTube people.
Bye-bye.
Bye.